Okay, so my name is Christian Troy, and I am the Executive Director of Waves for Water, and we are a humanitarian aid organization that focuses on providing access to clean water to every single person who needs it. Now, tonight I'm going to talk about a particular part of our operating style that we call Guerrilla Humanitarianism. Now, sometimes when we put these two words together, people don't know how to react, as if they don't fit. And I think here in Colombia specifically, when you say guerrilla, it may put people a little bit back. But what I'm talking about tonight is to tactically and efficiently take a solution directly to a problem. I'll say that again. Tactically and efficiently to take a solution directly to a problem. So we have singled out the problem of access to clean water. And now how we go about that is sometimes we will build rain harvesting systems. Sometimes it's digging wells. But most often, it is something as simple as water filtration. And I show you this little device right here, something this simple that affixes to a bucket or any type of receptacle, and dirty water goes in one side, contaminants of all type, and out the other side is perfectly safe and potable water. So what we've taken upon ourselves as an organization is to get these solutions to the beneficiary that is in need of clean water. So I think for this forum specifically, it's important to talk about where does the rubber hit the road. There's lots of big ideas, but a lot of us will find ourselves asking, well, what exactly can I do? What exactly can we do? So I'm going to go ahead now. I don't know.
Slides?
Is this supposed to work?
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. I'll start with this slide then. So Vanuatu, I saw the flag wave last night. This is a little country chain of islands in the South Pacific near Fiji. And 2 years ago, there was a cyclone, Category 5, Cyclone Pam, that came ripping through this area. And what you're looking at here is us sort of standing on a hillside. These are normally very lush and green islands. But with a Category 5 come ripping through like that, it ripped and stripped it of all of its foliage. And this is where we knew when this situation first happened. First, you're watching the cyclone as it zeroes in on a territory, and we are always trying to be very first and immediate responders. The idea is we know we're going to take some quantity of these, depending on funding, and we're going to get them in duffel bags, and we're going to go straight to what was the eye of the storm and go and try to help as many people as possible. So in this case, we didn't know exactly what we were going to face when we got there, but the idea is to get going fast. And as soon as we hit the airplane, I know I'm going to fly in and try to get to a place called Port Vila in Vanuatu, but the airport was closed. So we go ahead and head to Sydney, Australia as our next place where we're going to try to then get to Vanuatu as soon as it is available. That's what we did. And as on the way, while we're flying and landing, it's to try to sort out a plan. Now, not to be intimidated by, gosh, it's going to be chaos, but this is my 8th year in doing this. The idea is you start putting together what are those things that you have to know about and what can be discovered once you get there. And in this case, while I'm digging around and I'm meeting with people from the airline who are going to tell me the lay of the land there, I had a team of 2 others with me. When we hit the ground there, we learned of a mega yacht. The owner had permitted the captain to take the mega yacht into the region for the first time. And we thought, let's jump on the mega yacht if we can and go as fast as we can to those who need the help the most. So this is what we did. Through some emailing and vetting as much as they could do, as we got into Port Vila, had to go to the port and meet the mega yacht as it comes in. He eyeballs our mission and what we look like and sort of figures it out. It's a go. We jump on board this yacht. The only other crew are 5 Navy SEALs and my team, and we head out as fast as we can to what's called the Shepherd Islands, which is the outer islands to Vanuatu. And this became what we were the first responders anybody on these islands had seen. Now the storm, I think, had passed maybe 5 days ago. So sad to say, the first island that we got to, there had been 3 dehydration deaths just before we arrived. Clearly, the need for clean water was essential. And as it is in these sorts of situations, it's critical and one of those very first things. The human body cannot survive 72 hours without. So as we got there, then it became a mission of how do we get from this mega yacht to these little islands where these little populations await and have seen no help at all yet. But mind you, these are little islands that don't have docks and ports, so we have to put this big mega yacht off the shore and figure out how to get from here to there with our supplies. Literally, again, we are swimming with buckets and putting our stuff in plastic bags and making our way to the shoreline. And now to speed through this is what you have to go through as we figured out to get these supplies to the people who need them the most, or else it would not be getting there. So as we got to the islands, we had to go and then scale sometimes, crisscrossing up the hillsides to get to these little populations up on top. And here is a slide of something that may be a little easier for you guys to see. One of these shorelines we got to, the people were sitting there waiting, and fortunately it wasn't a steep cliff, so our cameraman was also actually able to come in and take a photograph. And this is my little team as we stand here and we train them on how to put this filter to the buckets that we have provided and use this water filtration for any water they can find anywhere on that little island. They can make that water totally safe to drink. And at the same time, we set up the ship to supply the water that they have a machine on board to desalinate and take the salt out of the ocean water and pipe that up to the shoreline as well. And these people immediately had safe drinking water. So I'll mind you, after we hit about 6 islands, thousands of people who had seen no help, this was the first help that they had seen. And it felt quite good to be able to deliver this and change as many lives as I'm describing. Oh, so. Guerrilla Humanitarianism. This is a phrase that we kind of coined, and I've already sort of explained what it is, but I'll describe it here as guerrilla humanitarianism is about taking a no-nonsense, stripped-down approach to determining the essentials needed to complete a task. So really, it's what is the key things that you have and to get to the people, and how are you going to do that in the most efficient way? So while I gave you the long version of the Vanuatu story, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys here that we've been able to do this time after time. Of course, it takes some kind of training, and you learn on the go, but the real key thing is to not sit, stall, wait, try to get a perfect scenario, a plan together, and all of that. We try to be lean, nimble, act quickly, be savvy, and make those differences. So in Haiti, there was an earthquake in 2010. The 300,000 people died immediately. Roads were buckled, logistics were a nightmare, but we went in and developed many, many networks to get these solutions to the people in any efficient way that we could, and we did. I think we proved ourselves very early on, back in 2010, where the United Nations tapped us as a little NGO that was actually being effective and helped us scale up. Another example is in Japan. You all may remember in 2011, there was this trifecta of earthquake, followed by tsunami, followed by the nuclear meltdown. Well, we knew that a lot of NGOs and others were going to be barred and have a hard time going there. Of course, the fear of the nuclear radiation. This isn't something that you want to be reckless about, but we figured out some things that we were able to do very quickly and drive north of the Fukushima power plant and find communities that were on the shoreline. And while Japan is a very developed country, they were addressing the issues, the problems as quickly as they could, but we knew we could beat them, and we did. We flew in with our supplies, met some guys in some vans, and drove north as far west as we could away from Fukushima, and made it north and hit a whole bunch of families. And they were in shock, like, what are you American guys doing here in Japan at a time like this? And so it felt good again to be able to be nimble and respond to what we thought was the efficient way of getting to these people. Pakistan, another case, very different than the ones I've just described here. There was a flooding in 2010. 1/5 of the country was submerged in water that was formerly dry. That's crazy to wrap your head around. Over 20 million people displaced. So this was another moment when we organized 6,000 pounds of cargo, put it on an airline with Pakistan International Airways, who agreed to do this for free. Again, it's always trying to find the clever way to reduce costs and get somewhere fast. But we flew into Islamabad, met our supplies, built these networks in days, and saw our supplies going out to all different little areas that were struggling with the issue of the contaminated water. And another example, and the last one I'll give here, is in Afghanistan. Clearly, somebody who has great networks is the United States Army. So there's an area in the northeast of Afghanistan, kind of near the Pakistan border, where we went. My partner and I that you see there, us in the black shirts, we're going in. We joined forces with the U.S. Army, who provided logistical support, identified the communities. You can see the back of the burqa, the blue there. These are women who were forbidden to receive Western men, but we had the female engagement team for the United States Army so these little kind of things that would otherwise be slowing people down and making it preventative or prohibitive from taking action. We're always trying to get on it and be quick and try to figure out, how do you get this done? Not why can it not happen, but how do we get it done? One other thing, guerrilla humanitarianism is empowering the individuals to empower communities. I'm going to jump past that there. The idea about empowering communities is this. I'll talk about Colombia as the one example that I'm going to use. Here are soldiers here in Colombia, the Navy. I think you call it the Navy and the Marines have merged into the Armada. And these are, they're patrolling the coast coming to the Ecuador border, and they want to develop rapport with communities that were vulnerable to the FARC. And we don't try to get politically involved, but we hear that there's communities that have need for clean water, and the military had heard our technique for facilitating relationships. So they contacted us, which is a great way to be an incoming call of another country's military, but to go down there and work with the military on how they can, we call this the train the trainer. We train them on all of these supplies. They then can be the trainer who turns around and speaks to the communities, and they can develop rapport. So literally there was like a platoon of, I think, 96 of these young naval, or the military, who had no way of having a communication with these little populations that they were trying to protect or serve or keep from being susceptible to the FARC. And now they were able to train, and I watched these bonds developing. So our thing is always about empowering at the most local level. I don't have a lot at stake. We're not meant to be sticking around Tumaco or Buenaventura for any extended period of time, but they are. So we try to give supplies to them. They're going to know how to best to turn around and talk to their locals, and those relationships are hatched and people benefit. These are other examples of the same kind of thing that I'm going to go ahead and move on. The last piece that I will use or talk about is reinventing the NGO model. This affecting a global change that addresses the challenges faced by philanthropic initiatives in a more decentralized way. I don't expect you to sort of follow that language. But let's just say in a decentralized way. So moving away from being part of a big organization that is cumbersome and takes lots of planning. And those can be great on that scale when you're trying to address an issue, especially something of this magnitude. But we're going to say, and this is the piece I'm going to finish on, is trying to put it back into the individuals and letting everybody on their own individual level participate. So we've created a motto that we say, do what you love and help along the way. And this scene right here is in Brazil, in the Amazon. There is this wave that comes in, it's called a tidal bore, that comes in from the Atlantic Ocean, where it pushes into a narrow river mouth. There's this wave that forms, very seldomly, but only on high tide, once a month, some months of the year, and this wave is called the Pororoca. So we are a team of surfers. We like to think that we do much more than being surfers, but at some phase in my life, I was a competitive and traveling surfer. So for the idea of us to go down and surf the Pororoca, this thing goes for 30 miles down a river, and it bends and warps and does fun things for a surfer to ride. But if you can imagine, this thing is an attraction for us, and we're going to go ahead and ride this wave, and we got Brazilian sponsors to pay for it and finance this thing, and we gave them the story, and they ran story about this water program going on in the Amazon. But as we did, our idea was this family that you see here is all these little indigenous families that live along the Pororoca or live along the riverways, that are living off of river water and rain catchment in a hardly responsible way. The water's coming down from the sky, but it's sitting in this blue receptacle that you see here. It was like recontaminating whatever it came from the sky. So we thought, let's go and help all of these little families that we can and ride this wave. And that's what we did. And we've tried to repeatedly go where adventure and do the things that we really want to do and help along the way. So I'm going to finish with a little clip here. There's a young guy that we try to inspire those to do exactly that. You don't have to be surfers, but if you're going to go somewhere and you have a penchant for traveling and you have whatever it is that you like to do, rock climb or just socialize and explore in some ways, as you go, take a couple of these filters. Take 1, take 5, take 3. And we have a fundraising platform on our website, a how-to, and I'm constantly interacting with those, trying to plug them into our network. We have programs in 40 countries around the world that we've amassed during this time. And we try to invite, if you're going somewhere and you have an idea, you're going to Kenya, maybe we have somebody there for you. But the idea is this is going to add so much dimension to your travel and the kind of experiences that it brings you into by being benevolent like this. You can only imagine by doing it. And I'm sure many of you are plenty conscious and are doing these kind of things. But it just is just a reminder We're trying to act as facilitator. And this young guy that you're going to see in this clip right now, extraordinary, extraordinary, but the good news is that we've had thousands of young people and people of all ages go places, school teachers, retired, et cetera, et cetera. But this young guy really took it on himself, and because he's a talented young surfer, his story got a little bit visible. So I'll go to this next.
Play the clip.
Where's my clip?
My name is Winter Vincent. I just turned 10 and I'm from Manly Beach. I was looking on Instagram and I saw Connor Coffin, Rob Machado giving clean water to Indonesia. Just dreadful seeing how many people die from not drinking clean water. So that inspired me to do more. I did a fundraiser with wastewater called Boardies to School Day. Basically everyone wears their boardies to school and everyone donates a gold coin which goes to buying water filters. From that whole project we actually raised $3,000 in US. So I bought 50 water filters. Each water filter can provide water for 100 people. So I thought about it, I could go to Indonesia and surf perfect waves while helping people. When we arrived, the whole island came to watch. All the water was just full of bacteria. And then we got one filter up and we showed them how it worked. I was so thankful. Everyone seemed so happy. It made me feel really proud that I actually did something to help the people who don't have any water. After my friends was like, oh, that's such a sick project, maybe I could help. So it's been actually quite good.
Winter inspires me. I think it's really special that he can help that many people. I think it will definitely inspire a lot of kids like our age. It's amazing how much we can help by doing very little.
I was so glad it was successful and we got there, we did it, and it was fun. I think everyone can make a difference. It's not just the adults. Kids can make a difference.
Great. That's great, John.
Alive. Okay, so that's really it. So to date now, we're an organization about 8 years old, and we have provided enough clean water for 7 million people. And that's it. So thank you guys so much for listening to my presentation. Sure.
A huge round of applause to Christian, our guerrilla humanitarianist. I love that expression.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's brilliant.